Maniacs, welcome back to the channel. Your local bedhead here. This is going to be an interesting video, and one of the reasons why it's going to be interesting is because I am a massive Jeepers Creepers fan. The first Jeepers Creepers, and I like the second one. Now, you have to understand that at this point in my life when I first saw the movie, I had no idea what kind of animal Victor Salva was. I had no idea this guy was a creep. Ironically, he was the biggest creep on set when making the movie Jeepers Creepers. Literally, it should have been a movie about him. What I like to do most of the time is try to separate the art from the artist. So I try to completely shove this guy to the side while I acknowledge that everybody who made Jeepers Creepers besides Victor Salva did a really good job. Jeepers Creepers is one of my favorite horror films of all time. And I'm completely aware of how effed up and deranged this guy was. He was sick. I don't know to the extent of the whole story. I don't know everything about this, but I know for a fact he is a pedophile. I know for a fact he's a pedophile. So we're gonna learn more about this. For your horror movie and fans out there, I'm not sure how much you guys knew, but yes, unfortunately, the Jeepers Creepers director Victor Salva is a creep. He was a creep during, I think the one that got him busted was the movie Clown House, which is also kind of effed up because I'm a massive fan of clowns. I have a giant clown collection back there, even adding more clowns to my collection because I just love them so much. And it's ironic that, of course, he got busted during the making of a movie called Clown House. I don't know the full story. I just know he's a pedophile, and I think he's a piece of shit human being. Absolute piece of shit. He should not be in Hollywood. He shouldn't be making movies anymore. He needs to be out of Hollywood. He's done. Get him out of there. We need to stop letting pedophiles get away with shit. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the video, guys. I'll give you guys my thoughts. This video is by a channel that is called Dreading Crime and Psychology. So I encourage everybody to go down below to the description, go to the video, click on it, go watch the original video, give them a lot of love, and yes, I will be pausing and talking about the video as I go along, so be ready for that. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive into the video, guys, and I'll give you guys my thoughts during and, of course, after the video.
There is no genre as formulaic, but revered, as the slasher film genre. Making a slasher film is one of the easiest things to do. All you need is a likable protagonist, usually a woman, going through a difficult period in her life. Maybe
Hell, they don't even have to be likable. You can just throw anybody in there and make a really crappy horror film. Yeah, it's one of the reasons why it's become a joke now to make a horror film. It's like, oh, well, it's going to be typical and cliched. Such a bummer, man. Such a bummer.
a member of their family has recently passed due to an unforeseen tragedy. Maybe she is at a crossroads in her professional career, or maybe she is just in a bad place mentally. Then have said protagonist thrust into a situation that is usually life or death, forcing them to fight for their lives. Usually, in these movies, we see the final girl or boy overcome some obstacle, usually mental. We see them decide that their lives are worth fighting for, and the thing they are scared of, or that is holding them back, is nothing that they can't overcome. For as formulaic and overdone as these stories are, even the worst ones are entertaining, to some degree. From campy to realistic, these stories are generally ones that are incredibly well trodden, almost to the point where nothing is new. However, in today's case, we will be covering a man who created these
Demons. I want to check out that first movie, Spookies. I've never heard of that film. It looks really interesting. I like the effects. And now we're going to be shown demons. I remember the days, yeah. I don't remember the days because I wasn't born during this time. But when they used to walk up and down the aisles with flashlights, I don't know why they used to do that. I guess to make sure no one was like effing in the movie theater or something or messing around. But Demons is a classic. If you have not watched it, highly recommend it.
types of movies, while terrorizing people in real life. Welcome back to another episode of Dreading. Or, if this is your first time here, welcome. Today,
My first
we are
time.
going to be discussing the director of Powder in the Jeepers Creepers trilogy, Victor Salva, a man who continues to find work in Hollywood despite what he has done. This video was highly requested by both our subscribers and our patrons over on Patreon, and because of the subject matter, is completely demonetized, like the majority of our content. However, if you would like to support the channel, our Patreon is in the description below, or
This is a good time for me to go ahead and mention that my channel's the same way. I am demonetized unless it's like just me sitting in front of a camera just talking to you like through my live streams. My channel's practically demonetized. Yeah, so like the paranormal reactions and stuff, nope, all demonetized. So if you guys want to help out the channel, become a channel member by clicking the join button. I don't say that too often during these videos when I'm just recording my reactions because I'm just so focused, but I thought I'd go ahead and just mention it while he is. Okay,
If you want to see more of our content, feel free to subscribe. With all of that out of the way, let us begin.
Yes, sir.
Victor Salva was born March 29th, 1958, to a small Roman Catholic family whose identities are entirely unknown. His father abandoned his mother shortly after his birth, leaving Victor alone with just his mother. However, they weren't on their own for long, as she would go on to marry another man whose name, much like the rest of the family, has never been made public. According to Victor, this man was incredibly abusive towards him, stemming from his severe alcoholism. He would describe being attacked ruthlessly at the hands of his stepfather, and how his mother did very little to protect him. In a 2006 interview with the Los Angeles Times, Victor recalled of his abusive home life with his stepfather, saying, "He'd been drinking since he was 14, so he was very volatile. Liquor put him in touch with his anger. He was physical with us. He'd hit me or sometimes slam me, or throw me across the room. It was
Jesus.
like living with a landmine. You never knew when it was going to go off." In order to escape his abhorrent home life, Victor sought refuge in the cinema, constantly using whatever money he had on him to spend his days watching every movie that was playing at his local theater. In interviews, Victor would recall how he spent all of his free time going to the movies, watching everything that had come out, and falling in love with the art form. Everything from buying his ticket, getting a small popcorn, and sitting down in the seats made him feel at ease, and it became his home away from home. But out of all the films he saw, his favorite were slasher films. In an interview he would give later on in life, Victor recalled his fascination with creature features, starting when he saw the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Now that I think about it, the creeper does kind of remind me of a creature from the Black Lagoon-esque kind of thing. He mixed the creatures with the slasher, and he brought Jeepers Creepers on, which is a pretty cool idea. Give him credit for what it's worth. And look, to me, unfortunately, a lot of people have these situations to where it's like most of these people who do sick crimes in the future probably did something or had a very rough childhood. It's a very common thread. I've noticed it myself. A lot of people who have done horrible things normally have had rough childhoods. Does that give them excuses to do it in the future? No, it doesn't. It doesn't not give Victor Salva an excuse to obviously do what he did. By far not. I think it's a poor thing to do. It's trying to gain any ounce of sympathy. It's like, okay, if you maybe did not do this and you told me the story, I'd feel bad for you. But the fact of the matter is, and I do feel bad for the young Victor Salva who unfortunately had to deal with that stuff and had to leave his house just to even get away from it. I do feel bad for that Victor Salva. I remember when I was watching Dahmer, and the little kid scenes came up, and you couldn't help but feel bad for this little kid, being as he was so outed, like he just did not fit in, and you felt bad for him. You felt bad that he got bullied, he got made fun of, he got teased, his life. You feel bad for the kids. That's obvious. Yes, it's like you wish they were in better living conditions, but that's still no reason. You even look, Victor Salva today, like there, right there, he is filming a movie. You mean people wish they could be in your situation where they could be filming movies and living the dream? And you still pulled that shit? There's no excuse for it, man. There's no excuse.
He stated, "When someone in the movie pointed and screamed, 'Ah, he's so hideous, he's so ugly,' I thought, no, the monster is the most interesting thing about the movie. I wonder what he's thinking and feeling." He later recalled in a separate interview, "Home is supposed to be the safest place in your life. So when you live in a scary environment like we did, that fear made those monsters feel like your friends and protectors. They were always on your side." By Salva's own admission, he felt a kinship with the creature, as well as other slasher movie icons. He referred to them often as outsiders, and explained away their negative behaviors and actions, citing their want for love and to fit in. He would later admit that this sense of understanding came from the fact that he too felt like an outsider in society, being that he was a gay man who often tried to hide his sexuality.
So you tried to do something with a minor because you yourself were too chicken shit to go out and find a guy because you were afraid he was going to judge you. But probably in his mind, the kid would probably not judge him. He would probably think he's just doing a job for money. I don't know what could have been going through Victor Salva's mind when he did this shit. I just know the whole clown house situation was like he asked the kid to stay behind so he could do like photo shoots or something along those lines. So he probably thought he was doing work for Victor Salva. Like, to me, I just don't know how the guy is still in Hollywood. When was this filmed? Because he looks different here. He looks a little bit older, so he's obviously still in Hollywood. Why is this guy even still in Hollywood? Why is he have a career still? I don't know. Makes no sense to me.
At the same time, Salva was told by one of his English teachers that he had a real gift and skill for storytelling, and that he should foster that skill. In an interview with Neve Pierce, Salva recalled how the teacher inspired his love for filmmaking, saying, "I had an English teacher who made a deal with me that I could get out of doing all the year's regular work if I would write a short story a week, and on Friday read it out loud to the class. I don't know why he did that, and I'm sure that a teacher who did that today would probably be fired. But he saw something of a storyteller in me, and when I think of myself as a director, I think of myself as a storyteller." It was the same teacher who, a few months later, suggested that I pick up a camera and shoot one of my short stories. That was really the seed of me becoming a filmmaker. I got to do all the things I love to do. I got to write, I got to act, and I got to direct. The other answer is that I really enjoy telling a good story and seeing if there's a way that I can make others resonate with my own experiences. From then on, Salva was dedicated to becoming a filmmaker in some way, shape, or form. He began to work 2 jobs in his teenage years with the hope that he would be able to save up enough money to afford to create his own feature-length film. He likewise spent whatever leftover money he had on going to the theater. In his
Okay, and like this is all cool. Like learning about Victor Salva, learning how what happened, why he became a filmmaker. That's so cool. Unfortunately, it's all tainted. Where I would be sitting here like, damn, that is such a cool story. Badass, man. Congratulations. I can't even do that. He has completely just ruined his entire... I cannot view this guy without viewing a pedophile. There is no trying to pat this guy on the back and say, you know, congratulations, because he let it all go for the sake of being a freak. Did something inhumane and sickening to where it's like, I can't even view this guy as an inspiration. Like, to me, that's an inspiring story. But I don't give a shit because it's Victor Salva. I don't think it's harsh. I don't think anybody could view this guy as an inspiration at this point. It's sickening. And again, it makes me even more sick seeing the guy smiling and just doing... He's at some sort of fucking red carpet. He's at a premiere or something for a movie called Dark House.
Local paper reported that in 1975, when he was 17 years old, Salva went to see Jaws 55 times, completely obsessed
55
with
times.
the thriller. Salva would create over 20 short films and movies while in high school, usually using any creative writing assignments as a springboard for a script. Most of his teachers were kind enough to allow him to turn in movies instead of written works, but some contested hotly, failing him when he failed to write what they had assigned. Regardless, with the help of his friends and some teachers, he had honed in his skills and was creating works that stood up to peer review, and he was determined to become a filmmaker in Hollywood as quickly as possible. After graduating from high school in 1976, Victor made the decision to formally come out to his family. He told them he wanted to live authentically as he was, and hoped that despite their negative and often abusive relationship, they would support him. However, the family immediately turned their backs on him, kicking him out of their home and formally disavowing him. At 18, he was on his own, without a family or a safety net to fall back on. But Salva had prepared for this, and believed in his ability to create. He immediately took his life savings and got himself a small apartment, and began to go to a local junior college, where he took courses on film. He continued to write scripts for short films, often shooting them on the weekend with his friends whenever he had time, learning tricks to make his low-budget backyard films look more professional and neat. It was only 10 years later, in 1986, when Salva would get what many would agree was his big break. Salva entered one of his films, Something in the Basement, into a variety of film festivals. According to interviews he would give in 2001, he stated he didn't believe much would come from his admissions, but he was always looking to get a foot in the door whenever he could. It was at the Sony AFI home video competition where he would eventually make a lifelong connection with judge and fellow director Francis Ford Coppola. Coppola saw potential in Salva and believed he had an inherent, immutable storytelling ability.
Okay, well, I didn't know that. I didn't know he made like a connection with actually Francis Ford Coppola. Wow, that's a big name. Godfather, anybody? Bram Stoker's Dracula? Holy hell. Yeah, what a hell of a guy to praise you. Man, he must be disappointed today. The fact that how Victor Salva turned out.
That was lacking in the industry. He would go on to say that Salva's ability to translate a story to screen was unmatched. And was
I was about to say lacking in the industry. I think there's plenty of pedophilia going around there.
something that the film industry absolutely could not be without. The movie went on to win several awards, including taking first place at the Sony AFI video competition, as well as the bronze plaque at the Chicago International Film Festival. After watching the movie, Coppola decided to give Salva the break he had been hoping for, and financed his first feature-length film, Clown House, which Salva both wrote and directed. To anyone outside looking in on Salva's life, he had everything going for him. After years of hardship, he had finally found his first real bit of success. He had overcome an oppressive and abusive home life, and was able to make it in a field that is highly competitive and insular. However, this was just Victor's way of looking at his own life. At no point did any family, including his younger brother, who he claimed was abusive as well, or friends materialize to give their side of the story or even confirm his statements. No one came forward to talk about what Victor was like in high school or as a friend, meaning that the only person to talk about Victor's life was Victor. How much of what I just recited is true prior to his meeting Francis Ford Coppola remains to be seen.
Wow, so everything you just said could even be all false. This is all coming from the mouth of Victor Salva, so everything that you just said could be 100% not legitimate. Wow, that just kind of destroyed everything. That kind of just, all right, any ounce of like, oh, this guy's kind of inspirational, just slammed on the ground and shattered into a billion pieces. But now it might not even be real. So this guy might be just full of shit from the beginning. He might just make up all these excuses just to have excuses. I know people like this too. I know people who would make up shit like this just to have everybody feel sorry for them, feel like they should be like inspired by him. And I guess I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and just say some of this stuff is real. When he brought when he brought up Francis Ford Coppola, it was really kind of hard to believe in. That's the first time I've ever heard of Francis Ford Coppola like acknowledging a young filmmaker. But then again, how else did he get the financing for his movie Clown House? I don't know. So maybe it's true. Maybe it's true. Maybe that part is true. I don't know.
But from here on out, the truth about Victor Salva would become public.
Clown House,
After
here we go.
speaking with Coppola, Salva was given the green light to create his next movie, and he chose Clown House. Clown House was a movie he had written about three brothers, all under the age of 18. The youngest brother, Casey, played by a then 12-year-old Nathan Forrest Winters, was characterized as having an extreme fear of clowns, which his older brothers would tease him about before they are all attacked by three serial killers who escaped a mental asylum and just so happened to be dressed as clowns. As far as horror movies, it's fairly standard. However, the real horror took place on set. Winters never dreamed about acting or...
And you know what's sad? You know what's sad to me? I kind of want to watch the movie. Because I'm a big clown fan. I love clowns. I really do want to watch this movie. It's like eating me alive, but I don't want to watch it because I know what happens behind the scenes, and I feel like I'd be supporting that at that point. Because with Jeepers Creepers, it was different because I didn't know the guy until after the fact. I didn't even have a concept of directors. I just watched a movie to watch a movie, and Jeepers Creepers was one of those movies. So now that I know, I don't really know if I want to watch Clown House, right? And especially knowing that this is the movie that this guy was an actual weirdo and creep on, but the clown looks creepy, and I'm a big fan of clowns, but it really is. Maybe I don't even feel like I should watch it. I really don't, because it's just like it's all tainted now. Like I can't even mentally, I don't think I could be able to sit down and watch a new Victor Salva movie without thinking I'm watching a movie a pedophile made. It's creepy. It's just weird and creepy, and it's just the guy needs to stop making movies. The guy needs to stop making movies. Obviously, this is like his first big movie, but
being famous prior to meeting Victor Salva. In fact, he barely remembers a time prior to meeting the adult man, seeing as when they first came into contact, he was just around 6 years old. At the time, Victor was working at a daycare center where he was left in charge of children of all ages. One thing that I've emphasized in my videos is the fact that predators often seek employment around children. These positions put them in direct contact with their prey and also establish them as authority figures in the child's life, meaning that the child would be less likely to come forward with any allegations of abuse. We see this countless times with daycare workers, teachers, and coaches who will systematically groom the children that they are left in charge of over years. Because they often meet these children when they are extremely young, they fill their minds with lies like what they are doing to them isn't wrong, that touching them the way they do is normal, and that their parents already know about the abuse, so telling them doesn't matter. Usually, these adults will try to befriend the parents as well, gaining their trust and grooming them to believe that they just really like their child. This then leads to them offering to babysit for free or take care of the child should the parents want to go away for a vacation or a long weekend. And similar to how the child is groomed to think that nothing is wrong, the parents are also groomed. Many times, in the cases of single parents, the predator will feign sexual and romantic interest in the parent. That way, they can get unmitigated access to the child. Other times, they will use any financial hardship the family is going through against them, saying they can fulfill their child's wants to go to Disney World or on little adventures where the parent cannot. Victor worked.
He's right. He's spot on the money. Oh, God, it's creepy. Just to even hear someone go into full detail, as professionally as you have, just about what they do, just to win you over. Yeah. Oh, I'll pay the bills and whatnot. Just keep me around. I need a place to stay. I'll pay the bills, no problem. And yep, then he starts slowly making his rounds, and he starting to groom everybody. Yep, it's creepy.
Working at a daycare is not shocking in the least, as he likely took that job to satiate his lust for the underaged. While working at the daycare, Victor talked to one of Rebecca Winter's family friends about a movie he was making in his backyard. He stated that he had very little budget to work with and needed someone to help him with the props. Given that his mother is an incredibly artistic person and had a history on film sets, the friend gave her phone number to Victor. From then on, Victor and Rebecca worked together on his films, and Nathan began to see Victor often. Nathan would go on to describe the grooming process as slow, but steady. Victor would gain his trust. In an interview he would do in 2017 with a creator named Blast Zone Mike, Nathan would recall that Victor spent the better part of a year grooming me and my parents, developing the trust. It was very calculated and a long process, as it is with most pedophiles. The abuse started when he was 9, and he was already a trusted family friend. According to Nathan, he felt as if he could come to Victor with anything, and if he tripped and fell and needed to be comforted, he would run to Victor instead of his parents. His parents likewise felt the same. He was just a friendly guy who made low-budget movies, and it was unthinkable that he could be using them to get to their child. Victor idolized the movie-making process to Nathan, and Nathan, seeing both his mother and his mentor in positions on their own backyard movie sets, was determined to join them as an actor. Victor played coy with Nathan, grooming him further. He told Nathan that he wasn't really sure he was up to acting in a major movie, and that he would have to prove that he was capable in an audition. He spent time telling Nathan about all the boys who would come out to the audition for the roles he had, even before Francis Ford Coppola backed him and emphasized what a big deal it would be for him to put Nathan into his movies. But Nathan was insistent and begged him for an audition for the movie Something in the Basement.
Hollywood director Victor Salva, convicted child. Oh, is this actually like around the time? Convicted child molester still working in the industry.
The following is taken from an interview Nathan did with The Millennial Report. The audio is doubled for some reason, so forgive the poor quality.
Okay.
Tell me, Nathan, who's Victor Salva at this point in your life to you, and who is he to Hollywood in this very moment that you're speaking of?
He was unknown in Hollywood at that point. And to me, he was just like one of my parents' friends, more of an acquaintance, I guess, because he started the grooming process fairly early on, from what I remember. And then by grooming, I mean basically developing the trust of my parents and my trust and adoration, and they take their time. Someone like Victor, a pedophile like Victor, they're very patient, very manipulative, and they take their time. And so it was within the first year that the abuse started, but really he was unknown in Hollywood, and he was just a friend of the family.
And then Clown House happens. Take us through your experience working on the horror film Clown House and how your relationship grew with Victor Salva.
Again, so the grooming process, within the first year, he had started abusing me. And I think when I was about 9 or 10, he had started production on another backyard movie called Something in the Basement. And he had maybe 19 or 20 boys my age audition for the lead role. And I begged him because I was at his house. I mean, by this time, the abuse had been going on until I was 9. It had been going on for probably 2.5 years, maybe. So at that point, he had like the full trust of my parents, where he would take me for full weekends and take me to amusement parks and things like that, and always under the guise of like giving my parents a break, because I had a little brother, it's 5 years younger, and so their hands were pretty full. And so something in the basement, again, this is when I'm like 9 or 10. I begged him to let me audition for it, and he kept telling me, I don't want you to audition, I don't want to hurt your feelings in case you're not good, and da-da-da-da. And so I ended up talking him into it, and when I auditioned, he was like, okay, you got the part, like, you got the part. And so I was stoked, I was, ecstatic, telling all the kids at school I was going to star in this movie, and then that went and won. That was entered into the Sony Film Festival, I believe it was, in San Francisco, and a couple was on the panel of judges, and it won first place. And then afterwards, Coppola approached Victor and said, I like your style, whatever, and I'll give you some money if you want to make another film. Do you have another film, another script to film? And so he went home and he wrote Clown House with me specifically in the starring role, as well as the middle brother, Brian McHugh, because he co-starred in Something in the Basement with me. So that film was written with me and Brian in the two main roles, and that's where Clown House came to be. Was Coppola's production, or I guess Commercial Pictures, which is his production company.
And Clown House really is, to this day, quite a cult hit.
Wow, it is. I guess it is still a cult hit, but okay, so Francis Ford Coppola definitely was involved with the making of the film. So I don't really doubt the Victor Salva thing was with Francis Ford Coppola. I'm sure he like boasted about that all the time, because Francis Ford Coppola, yeah, he approves of me, so you gotta respect me and everything like that. I'm sure he used that to his advantage a lot, trying to show off and stuff. And I was sorry I didn't talk too much during that. I was trying to really kind of listen to what the guy was saying, and it's so sickening, man, that they gain your trust. That is so sickening. I hate that. I hate that shit so much. Jeepers Creepers, literally. I was about to say Jeepers Creepers, literally. I don't even know if I want to watch Clown House, honestly, at this point. I really don't. Like, yeah, the clowns look cool and everything, yada, yada, yada. But I didn't know in full detail the kind of shit he was pulling, even grooming the parents. Like, I didn't know.
And something that a lot of people still reference as one of those, gritty, horrifying films that really knocks down sort of, I suppose at the time, the standards of horror films. It allowed for a much more grittier feel because of maybe its more low-budget approach.
Clown House was written with Nathan in mind, which makes the end result even more disgusting. The following is an excerpt from a 2012 Vice article titled, "Victor Salva Loves Terrorizing Semi-Naked Youths." Salva has said that the idea of making a horror movie like Clown House had been on his mind for some time, and when you watch it, you can see why. The plot's victims are 3 prepubescent brothers, led by debutante Sam Rockwell, who spend their time running hysterically around their enormous suburban house, getting terrorized by sadistic escaped lunatics dressed as circus clowns. The leader is called Chizo. As a concept, it's pretty basic, though the nightmare is enlivened by a constant thrumming undercurrent of high school homoeroticism, which manifests itself in lingering crotch shots and constant close-ups of half-naked teens. It's basically as terrifying as you'd expect a film about murderous, child-killing clowns directed by a pedophile to be. On this,
just listening to that, man, has already made my stomach upset. Like, I've lost complete interest in watching it.
Instead of Clown House, when the camera wasn't directly on Nathan, Salva would have Nathan sit on his lap in the director's chair. The act alone seemed innocuous once, but it became so frequent that other members of the cast and crew began to be concerned. Different members of the crew approached Nathan's mom, advising her of Salva's seemingly inappropriate behavior, and at first she shrugged it off. She maintained that Salva had known Nathan since he was 6. They had gone on trips together and had a normal family relationship. However, the more people approached her, she began to realize how out of the ordinary their behavior really was. She began to ask Nathan about it
It's
when they
nice
were
it's nice to kind of know that the cast and crew actually gave a shit. Like, they didn't just keep their mouths shut. They actually approached the mom and said, "Hey, Victor's really being weird with him. You need to, like, keep an eye out."
alone, and Nathan, not knowing anything was actually amiss in his relationship with Victor because of his intense 6-year grooming, would say that everything was fine. Her suspicions would only mount when, after Victor realized that she was questioning Nathan, he would ban her from the set, telling her that Nathan couldn't work while she was there. He then began to keep Nathan after work, forcing him to stay behind for extra rehearsal time, where he would assault Nathan in his trailer and record it for his own private stash
Fuck
of
this
sexual abuse images of children. As time went on, Nathan began to realize
This guy, dude. Bastard. The second the mom tries to even get involved and starts questioning stuff, "Get off my set. He's not allowed to work with you here." And then he starts taking him after and assaulting him after work. This guy is the biggest piece of...
that what he was doing with Victor wasn't normal. According to an interview he would do with the now defunct website, Nathan would state that when he went to school and heard about other kids' romantic relationships, he realized
That's
that
what-
Salva had abused him. His mom continued to question Nathan, asking him if everything between Salva and him was normal. Shortly after the filming of Clown House ended, he told her the truth. Immediately, Rebecca took Nathan to the police and filed a report against Salva. His home was then raided, and within it, they found videos of him abusing Nathan, as well as
This is what I know. I knew they found all the stuff at his house.
commercially bought child sex abuse videos. Nathan wasn't a one-off case. Victor clearly was sexually attracted to children. After being arrested and charged with 11 counts involving the sexual abuse he had put Nathan through, he made a deal with the prosecution and pled guilty to 5 counts, including lewd and lascivious conduct, oral sex with a person under 14, and procuring a child for pornography. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison, but got out after just 15 months. Salva
3 years in prison, got out after 15 months. What an insult. What BS. An insult. Absolutely disgusting. By...
would describe his prison sentence as being horrific, as if he was the true victim in the situation, not the child he abused for years on end. According to his own testimony, he was, quote, beaten beyond recognition in prison because everyone had been made aware of his crimes and thought he was disgusting. He went on to say, "I was never more scared or closer to death than when I was in prison. I received no therapy there. Prisons are not places for rehabilitation or learning to understand yourself or your actions.
You don't deserve that, man. You're a pedophile. You knew exactly what you were doing. Big fucking crybaby gets caught, and then all of a sudden, oh, they're doing all these horrible things to me. Dude, you took advantage of a kid. You're a piece of shit."
monster factories. However,
No
to
backbone.
those who are close
But what do you expect, man? When you're pulling that kind of stuff and you get caught, what do you expect? I don't know, man. I'm just so annoyed with this guy.
that is not an accurate retelling of what occurred. Luckily for him, his buddy Francis Ford Coppola is still on his side. Francis, it seemed, didn't mind that Victor had sexually abused a child, and in fact, thought the child was more at fault for reporting it.
Now, tell me something.
Please tell me that's not true. Please tell me Francis Ford Coppola did not agree to that. Please tell me he did not say those things. That he's blaming the kid for why Victor Salva was a pedophile. He's not. There's no way Francis is that stupid. There's no way he is that actually stupid.
Take us through the steps of how Victor Salva was held accountable for molesting you as a child.
Let's see. It was when he was arrested, it was a sting operation, first of all. And so after we finished up principal photography for Clown House, because of the cameras we used were literally the ones that George Lucas used for American Graffiti.
Wow.
And so they were really old, outdated cameras, and they were extremely loud. So every bit of sound on that film had to be dubbed over. And so it was basically a month of shooting and then a month of overdubs. And It was right in between, like right in the first couple days of doing the overdubs, that the police did the sting operation and caught him just a couple miles away from his house. And then, I mean, they found, like pretty much a kiddie porn den, just videotapes upon videotapes and photo albums full of like boys modeling underwear for, Macy's or Sears, plus pictures of countless little boys, and all sorts of just really, really disgusting stuff was found. And Victor admitted to all of it. He admitted to all of it until there was an attorney involved, and Coppola is where the attorney came in. Like that's where the money came from for the attorney, for Victor's attorney was. So Coppola gets him this really, expensive lawyer, and then it turns into where he, because the police already had on file, on record, him admitting to all these things, because he was arrested on 11 counts of child molestation, including oral sodomy on a child under 14, oral copulation on a child under 14, videotaping these things, and then, several charges that had to do with the production of Clown House and being abused during that production. So he, of course, retracts everything, and the lawyers get him to shut his mouth and, stop making their jobs harder. And eventually what happened was, at some point, Coppola filed a lawsuit against my family for $5 million for some breach of contract or something. And my lawyer called my parents one day and said, the appointment we had with Victor's attorneys it's been rescheduled. It's been pushed till tomorrow. So you guys don't need to come in today. And so we stayed home, and my attorney actually went down and met with Victor's lawyers and signed wrote up a plea bargain and had it signed. And the plea bargain dropped the 6 most severe charges, the ones that had to do with the production of Clown House and the abuse. And he was convicted on 5, the 5 least severe charges, or signed a plea bargain of that, and was sentenced 3 years. And he was in jail for a short time when he was first arrested, but after that, he didn't go to prison. He never saw another jail cell. He went to a treatment facility in Napa.
Oh,
and
what a retreat! How lovely.
Right. Yeah, he did 15 months.
So I'm sorry.
He had movie deals waiting for him. It was like, warm reception when he got out of his treatment, and was right back to work.
So can we blame Victor? I mean, can we blame fucking Francis Ford Coppola on why Victor Salva never got the justice he deserved? Because Francis Ford Coppola that's sickening, man. That is actually sickening. That Francis Ford Coppola stuck up for that guy as much as he did. I don't know what that says about Francis, but certainly doesn't make me respect him. I'll tell you that.
Thereafter.
So Francis Ford Coppola stepped in to not only help him, but then he sued you.
Yes.
What a slime bag. Are you kidding me? This notable, legendary Hollywood director stepped in to not only throw sand in your face, but to help someone that had been arrested on unspeakable charges.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, what does that say about Francis Ford Coppola? That's what I want to know. What does that say about you, man? You're going to go up and defend this guy? A man convicted of being a pedophile? Jesus, Murphy.
In fact,
freaking believable.
Once the film was, because I still had to go and do all the
Jeez.
So after he was arrested, so I still had a month's worth of work at Coppola's house every single day for 8 or 9 hours every day for a month. Which time I was like blackballed, told I'd never work in the industry again, and
sure,
like all sorts of stuff, and
there was video evidence of him doing stuff to this kid, and he's the one who's being treated like he's the problem. Why isn't this being brought back up into the light? We want to talk about cases that need justice. Why isn't this being mentioned again? This kid literally almost had his life fucking ruined because of Victor Salva, and Victor Salva got away with it. And this kid got ridiculed by Francis Ford Coppola saying you're never going to work in this business again and shit like that, dude. What the
yeah, it was incredible.
So
But
tell
they,
me,
Even after Victor was arrested and admitted to his crimes, Coppola stayed by the pedophile, supporting his friend, shouldering the legal fees, and getting Victor a plea deal that was virtually a slap on the wrist. According to Victor, before he went to prison, Coppola spoke to him on the phone and told him that prison would, quote, make him a better artist, which I guess in his mind makes pedophilia okay. When Salva was arrested, there was still work for him to do on the film, seeing as the cameras they've used were provided by George Lucas and were incredibly noisy. Nathan had to come to Coppola's studio every day to overdub the dialogue from the movie, and he was repeatedly told by the filmmaker that he would never work in Hollywood again, that his career was over, and that he had made a mistake, going to the police. But that wasn't all. Coppola then
Yeah.
tried to sue
You should have kept your mouth shut, kid. Because that's unfortunately how Hollywood works anymore. Is that if you speak up, you're never going to work in this business again. That's why a lot of people keep their mouth shut, because they're too scared they're not going to have a career. Yeah, because that's how corrupt Hollywood is. And then here's Francis Ford Coppola, one of the best directors of all time, arguably, sitting there telling you you're never going to work in this business again because you fucked up. You peeped. You spoke about it. You're not supposed to speak about it. So guess what? You're never going to work here again. You made a mistake talking about how Victor Salva sexually assaulted you. Oh, God, under my skin right now. Oh, boy.
Winters for $5 million, citing a breach of contract. Though I have tried to find out more information about this lawsuit, it seems there is very little information publicly available as to the exact details, which is notable, given that if there was a clause in the contract that a minor could not go to the police if they were sexually abused by the director of the film, that would imply that Coppola was aware of the sexual abuse occurring and knowingly put him in charge of a set with minors. Regardless of the details, it seemed that Coppola at least knew that the minor actors on the set had a great chance of being abused and was more upset that it had been made public. The Winters family would later settle the lawsuit, having to pay a little.
Where's the hate for Francis Ford Coppola? I haven't seen anything going up against him yet, and here he is defending Victor Salva, probably very much well aware that he was telling the truth about him being a pedophile and still friends. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Little over $100,000. After a little over a year in prison, Salva would be released, and he refused to let his being a pedophile get in the way of his career. According to his own testimony, he would work as a telemarketer during the week and pose as a delivery boy on the weekend, delivering his own scripts to different studio directors with the hopes that it would end up in the right hands. However, other people have claimed that he was given movie deals immediately after exiting prison, citing that Francis put in a good word for him with various studio heads. After being released in 1992,
You gotta stick together, don't you? All of you creeps gotta stick together. Yeah. Unbelievable.
3 years before he made another movie, which was the direct-to-video movie Nature of the Beast. But shortly after that same year, he made the Disney movie Powder. For Nathan, seeing Victor be able to continue to work in the movie industry, specifically for him to continue to be put in a position of power over children on a movie.
Can't believe Disney would allow a pedophile to make a Disney film. An industry that focuses on making entertainment for kids lets a pedophile, an alleged pedophile at that point, make a movie for children and families. Yet they fired Johnny Depp right on the spot without any proof at all. There was proof to him being a... Okay.
Movie set was terrifying. At the premiere, he protested, showing proof that Victor was a pedophile and had abused his power on sets previously. But it did very little to hurt the box office numbers for the movie, and Disney executives
Fairy tale ending.
maintained that they simply had no idea that their director
The uproar over Disney film Powder leaves the company profits. Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
had gone to prison prior to hiring him. There was a small amount of controversy about his role in making the film, but all in all, the protest did little to spread awareness. Although Victor would go on to lambast the efforts to make people aware of his criminal actions, stating that Nathan and the people who refused to, quote, let it go, made it impossible for him to enjoy his career highs. He would continue to work in Hollywood, and in 2000,
boo fuckity who? Maybe not be a pedophile, and none of that shit would have happened. Blaming other people for why you sexually assaulted. Get out of here, dude.
came out with the horror movie Jeepers Creepers. The movie would go on to set a record for the largest Labor Day box office and cement itself as a slasher film staple. But while promoting the movie once more, Victor was confronted about being a pedophile. In an interview he did
Good.
with Neil Young's Film Lounge, when asked about what they only referred to as the controversy, Victor said, "This has followed me around ever since it happened. But once people meet me, the phantoms go away, and they realize I made a stupid mistake years ago." Francis knew I made a mistake, but he also knew who I was and what I was capable of doing. My past is going to follow me around for as long as people want to talk about it. Jeepers Creepers is a high-profile movie, but I think there will be less controversy this time because it isn't Disney who made it. It did hamper us a bit when we had some difficulty with the schools in Florida when we were shooting the movie. But really, everybody's heard the story now, and I'm not sure how much juice there is.
It should never be let go, Victor. It should never be let go. It shouldn't. It shouldn't. You are in a position to where you could give a lot of people hush-hush money. And we're still in that position at that time. It's never going to leave you, and that's the least you deserve. It's never going to leave. You're always going to be labeled as that pedophile director.
Left in it. Then again,
Rightfully so.
There's always going to be people who wonder, how can anyone make that big a mistake? It's like Einstein said, going back to powder. People make big mistakes.
It's not a mistake. You keep saying it was a mistake, and you're damn right. It is a mistake. But the issue here is that you call it a mistake. I made a mistake, guys. Get over it. That's the vibe he gives off. I made a mistake, guys. Get over it. It is what it is. Let it go. I did it. It's over. That kid has to live with that for the rest of his life. While you are supposed to just go off and just enjoy your career. Stop talking about it. Let me enjoy my career. Like, do you listen to yourself talk at all? Do you ever bother to listen to yourself talk? What an ignorant, stupid son of a...
mistakes, and they make little mistakes, and all we can do is learn from them. I'll never let it stop my career as a filmmaker. Francis said he knew.
Oh yeah, Francis. That's a reoccurring thing. Well, my buddy over here, Francis, doesn't think I'm a creep. Well, my buddy Francis over here doesn't think I did anything wrong. Francis still's got my back. Everybody loves Francis. That's your excuse. Oh, go hide behind your big boss dude, Francis. Yeah, Francis. He sees what's in me. He knows I'm special. I'm the chosen one. See, my art is what's important to me and Francis. Francis knows that I'm an artist. I made a mistake. Whoop-de-fucking-do. I'm an artist. I got shit to do. The ignorance that comes out of your mouth, man. The ignorance. And yeah, to a lot of people, this is old news. But to me, this is like, I'm just finding out that he even said this stuff. And to me, this is just like, wow.
How hard it was for me to get through the hard times.
Oh, I feel so bad for you. Sorry, I don't mean to pause it. He knows how hard it was for me to get through the tough times. Dude, imagine being a kid in the situation you put him in and him having to deal with that and then being threatened by one of the world's biggest filmmakers because he opened his mouth about how he was sexually assaulted, which you recorded, by the way, and had actual video evidence of. So you can't really deny it, and you acknowledge that you did it. So what are you talking about, man?
But he told me to try and look for the positives, and that it might even make me a better artist because I'd come through the tough parts. I was too upset to listen to him at the time, but I know what he means. I have learned a lot of lessons. It derailed me from my ambition to be Spielberg, but it made me realize I wanted to know what kind of films Victor Salva was going to make. After everything that's happened, I'm still going to make movies, to make Victor Salva movies. And unfortunately, he was right. Victor has continued to work as a filmmaker in Hollywood, with his latest addition to his roster being Jeepers Creepers 3, which came out in 2017. The movie likewise contains multiple jokes about pedophilia written by Salva. While making a joke in and of itself usually isn't cause for concern, the fact that Salva wrote 2 jokes sexualizing children in movies he has continued to make after being charged with sexually abusing children.
Yeah, treating a joke like it, treating it like a joke. Like, yep, that's that. Oh, yep, everybody start laughing. That was me at one point, but I'm better today, guys. Root for me. I'm doing better. Jeepers Creepers 3 sucked, by the way. It was dog shit.
Children is a clear indicator that something is extremely wrong here. In my research, I have also found that Victor publicly stated that he has more than made up for his crimes, given his time in prison and the fact that he does a lot of community service.
You mean 18 months that you spent in that facility, that rehabilitation facility or whatever? That's your excuse? Oh, I paid my time. I did my stuff. So, but the kid got threatened to be sued and everything. Apparently, did he get sued? I can't remember if he got sued or not, but he got sued, whatever, by Francis Ford Coppola, your big boss dude who had your back. Lucky you. Not everybody could say we have Francis Ford Coppola to back us up. So you have to make everybody aware that, oh yeah, Francis Ford Coppola has my back, guys. Be careful.
What community service, you might ask? He works with juvenile sex offenders and spends a good amount of time with minors. According to the group's leader, Dolores Combs, Salva has been an inspiration for the kids. Most importantly, he's living proof that you can change your life and be a functioning member of society. As for Nathan Forrest Winters, he was blacklisted from Hollywood, but that did little to stop him from advocating for children working with Salva and talking about how he was abused and how Hollywood protected his abuser. If you liked this video, please consider hitting.
Yep. Yeah, completely blacklisted from Hollywood. Hollywood hire him again? Show that just because you get blacklisted doesn't mean you can't work in the industry anymore. This guy is the one who started it. He's the one who ruined this kid's life. Maybe you should fucking hire this guy as an actor and actually get him out and making movies again. And maybe blacklist Victor Salva. I don't know, maybe that's an idea. Blacklist him. People are tired of pedophilia. That's the generic view of Hollywood right now, by the way. If anybody doesn't know it, a lot of people view you as pedophiles. Like the whole group of lot of you. Just a bunch of pedophiles walking around the streets. And yet we have pedophiles that obviously are pedophiles who have not been called out or blacklisted from it. Actually given a repercussion or an actual, like, literal physical justice. Like, there's no justice, and it's just actually sickening. And the fact that he thinks he actually did his time, he already paid for what he did. No, you didn't, man. A kid got blacklisted. You ruined that kid's career because of your sick desires.
Hitting the like button. If you want to see more videos from my channel, subscribe down below. If you want to see videos early, consider joining my Patreon. If there is a case you would like to see me cover, leave a comment down below or email me at dreading.official@gmail.com.
Good job, man. I like the video a lot. Okay, so yeah. Victor Salva got away with too much, in my opinion. I don't think he, truthfully, in my personal opinion, he didn't pay as much as he should have. The fact that Francis Ford Coppola, which is something I was unaware of, defended him kind of sickens me. I won't lie. I'm kind of shocked to hear that. And it does not make me like Francis Ford Coppola really much at all now. Yeah, for defending Victor Salva. Yeah, I take that seriously as hell. Like, I take that very seriously. And the fact that he was aware of it is just not for me. Not for me. The fact that he was aware and still gave him money and defended him and tried to sue the kid that spoke up about it. Yeah, fuck that shit, man. That's too much. That's too much. I don't know if I want to watch Clown House, to be honest with you guys. I was thinking about it the whole video, and to me, it feels like the way he described the movie was almost like a fantasy for this guy. Like a weird sexual minor fantasy, and I don't know if I want to do that. I really don't. I really am already sickened by the fact that I just had to listen to everything that I just had to listen to his story. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's the director of Jeepers Creepers, everybody. Let me know down below what your guys' thoughts are. Hit the like button, subscribe. I will react to more of this guy's content. He did a very good job at explaining everything. Would definitely like to watch more of his stuff. And until next time, guys, please take care. Please take care.